91.3 FM, WCRD, Muncie. Pop, indie, rock, and more. Chirping at Ball State University. WCRD, always better radio.
Walking into the building for the first time after the shooting, it was crippling, but it had to be preserved.
In response to the Pulse nightclub shooting that affected the LGBTQ.
All right, we will play that PSA later, but thank you for joining us here. Let me make sure my audio is working. Looks like it is. That's good. That's a good sign. This is my second show, so we should have some improvements from before, but thank you all for joining me here. I'm Isaiah Rosner. This is 3 Levels of Football. Just an hour show here, going to be talking about football, and the 3 levels I'm referring to are high school football, college football, and of course, the National Football League. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Of course, I do have to mention we have the World Cup coming up, so I know football, I did call it football here in the States. We usually refer to that as soccer, but, I'll have to talk about that a little bit now and in the coming weeks. But, oh, man, I'm so excited for that, as everyone should be. It only happens every 4 years, and for the U.S. men, it hasn't happened for 8 years. They had it in 2014, made it out of the group stage, beating out Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo. Legendary game against him. Actually should have won it, should the United States, but ended up in a tie, in a draw did that game. But yeah, beating Ghana, getting out of a group that included Germany, incredible job, and then almost beating Belgium, great chance for right at the end of regulation. But, a lot of you know how that went, and then the absolute disaster of losing to Trinidad and Tobago, among other bad losses. You can't blame it all on that one, but missing the World Cup. But we are back. The United States are in the World Cup, as we know, and that is coming in 21 days until the first U.S. game, which will be against Wales. Oh, man, exciting stuff. But I shouldn't talk too much about world football. This is about American football. That's what this show is about. And so I do want to start off by talking about some high school stuff. So, my high school, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, isn't exactly the best. They do finish the season 0-10, losing their playoff game to Lawrence Central. Not really a surprise there, but man, 42-0 is the final score. Lawrence Central, a team that was 4-5 during the regular season, so not exactly a powerhouse. Again, not a shock to anybody, but man, 42-0 game there. I'm hoping for good things in the future. There's got to be light at the end of the tunnel somewhere, but man, it's been a long tunnel. There might have been a little break in the tunnel a few years while I went to that school, but sheesh. 1 win last year to Pike, and now 0 wins, 0-10. Tough game. Well, tough season, I should say, for my North Central Panthers in Indianapolis. Moving over to some local high schools. So, Muncie Central, I'd been hyping them up a lot when I did this show last 2 weeks ago. And they did beat Indianapolis Arsenal Tech 54-34. An absolute, a really high-scoring game. It actually, even, 54-34, it was probably not quite that close. Really good first half by Muncie Central, and then I feel like they kind of let off the gas in the second half. Not that I watched the game. I'm not going to pretend like I watched it, but Trenton French, 10 for 19, only passed 19 times, but had 10 completions. How about 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions? So when he threw the ball, good chance somebody was catching it. Long of 63 yards, and then in the ground game. And I almost forgot 219 passing yards total for him, but another good game for Josiah alum with 4 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. Also 2 receiving touchdowns for Leo Boyd with 78 yards. Great game for him. But yeah, a high-flying affair for Muncie Central to beat out Arsenal Tech, the Titans. But I've been gone for 2 weeks. That means they've played 2 games. So after that, they went on to the second round of the sectionals, playing Huntington North. I know somebody that went to Huntington North, and so I'm sure, I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm sure right now, Aiden, my buddy from Cardinal Sports Live, is pretty happy that his high school beat Muncie Central 47-21. So for locals here, unfortunate that the Bearcats couldn't get it done. Really a game that I kind of expected Muncie Central to win. I mean, they're both good teams. Not that there was a clear favorite here, or a clear, I'm not going to pretend like this is a massive upset by any means, but, a pretty solid win for the Vikings. I mean, at halftime, up by, let me do the math here, 26, up 40-7. So kind of surprising just how well they beat down Muncie Central, especially in that first half. Trenton French, 15 passing attempts for 7 completions, 133 yards, got 1 passing touchdown, threw 2 interceptions. Rushing game was actually good for Muncie Central, 6.3 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, but clearly it was not enough. Great offensive showing by the Huntington North Vikings, and they will move on to the sectional championship, which will be this coming Friday. Let's see who they're playing. Clearly, I've done so much research about this high school. I don't even know who they're playing, right? But they will be playing at home. Or wait, they already played that game. Man, I'm way behind here. Okay, we were behind on this. We are a little bit behind, beating Muncie Central and then losing to Mississinawa 62-35. So Mississinawa, they will be going to the regional. Excellent job by them. Unfortunate for Muncie Central in that regard. Moving on to Yorktown, had their playoff game against Delta and got the win 10-7. So unlike all the games we've talked about so far, a low scoring affair. But 14 for 31 for their quarterback Mason Moulton, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 172 yards. Their ground game 90 yards overall. So as expected, not amazing numbers, but it got it done 10-7. And then that moved them on to the second round of the sectionals, where they got to play at home this time against Garrett and beat them 22-13. That was this past Friday. And so then they will be playing Norwell in their sectional championship on the 4th of Friday. You never know how the start of a show is going to go, but the good news is I figured out how to play public service announcements. So, I feel like I've been stumbling over my words a lot, so what better way to combat that than get a quick reset with some PSAs?
91.3 FM, WCRD, 91.3 FM, Pop, WCRD,
That is not a PSA.
WCRD.
I don't think it's a PSA. Let's see. Maybe I know how to do this, maybe not. Okay, so nothing's playing? Okay, let's see. Play.
Walking into the building for the first time after the shooting, it was crippling, but it had to be preserved.
In response to the Pulse nightclub shooting that affected the LGBTQ community, Barbara Poma, owner of Pulse, founded the One Pulse Foundation to honor Pulse victims and survivors.
If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart. It is the power of love in its rawest form.
Join the fight for LGBTQ acceptance. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have.
All right, looks like my producer's finally getting it together here, figuring out these ads, these PSAs rather. Let's see if we can get this one to play.
Next time on The Scene from Indiana Public Radio, join us for Jacob's Choices. This week we will look back at my time on The Scene for some of my favorite songs, artists, and episodes. I've had a chance of being involved in so many fun and amazing episodes, and I can't wait to go down memory road with you all. That's next time on The Scene from Indiana Public Radio.
All right, nice. There's your public service announcements for this first 15 minutes of the show. Let's move on to another high school team. Monroe Central played their playoff game on the 28th, lost that one to Sheridan. So they are out. Feels like every school in the area is out. That's unfortunate. Not that I can say anything. My school back home is pretty bad. So, high school football, though, always a lot of fun, especially now during playoff time. I look forward to continue to look at this in the coming weeks and see who can come out with some of those championships. But cutting it a little short here. I am only 14 minutes into this hour-long show, but I do want to talk some about Ball State college football. Of course, that's where we're from, broadcasting live from the Letterman Building at Ball State University. This is 91.3 WCRD, but Ball State, I'm getting in right before Maction starts, or I should say before the Tuesday Maction, the traditional Maction, MAC football on Tuesday evenings. What's better than that? So tomorrow, the Ball State Cardinals are playing the Kent State Golden Flashes, that is, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Before we get to that, we'll see if my producer improves a bit here, and I don't know if it makes it better or worse to spell out the joke, but there is no producer here for anyone listening. I'm the producer, so any mistakes that happen here are likely on me. But if I can get this to work out, I will go ahead and try to deliver my highlights from SL Digital of the Ball State game last Saturday. So it's been a few days since the Ball State game. They kind of had a half bye week as they transition from Saturdays to these Tuesday games. But last Saturday, a matchup against Eastern Michigan. It was one I kind of expected them to win. A lot of you already know the result, but why spoil it for those that don't? Here's how that game went down. As the game got going, both teams racked up yards but couldn't get any points until the fourth drive of the game. I should probably turn on PC too. That'd probably be helpful. Let's see. Where do we turn this on here? All right, that should do it. Again, going off my script, this is the fourth drive of the game. It's a Ball State having the ball.
Third down and 5 yards to go. Ball spotted at the Eastern Michigan 8-yard line. Ball State looking for at least a first down here as Paddock's in the gun, takes the snap, looking left, and now finds Carson Steele over the middle, scampers his way into the end zone for a Ball State touchdown. Carson Steele, the man who can do it all, gets the Cardinals on the board first.
Charlie Maurer on the call for SportsLink Digital. All of today's sound bites will be his voice. On the ensuing drive, Eastern Michigan picked up chunk plays of 20 yards and 27 yards, leading to this.
And first and goal from the Ball State 4-yard line. Smith in the pistol. Takes the snap, handoff up the middle. That's Boone. Avoids a couple of defenders and into the end zone for an Eastern Michigan touchdown.
Cardinals offense got going and things looked promising as they got it in the red zone to the Eagles' 9-yard line.
A gain of 5 yards on first down, so second down and 5 yards to go. 6 minutes left in the first half. Paddock back in the shotgun. All by himself is Tanner Kozel on the near side. Jay-Sean Jackson and Abdul Rahman on the left. And now the snap goes over Paddock's head. The ball's still loose and picked up by the Eastern Michigan defense.
After 3 more punts, Ball State again got the ball into EMU territory, looking to take the lead before halftime.
3rd down and 5 yards to go. Clock stopped with 28 seconds left in the second quarter. At the Eastern Michigan 25-yard line, Paddock by himself in the gun. Takes the snap, looking right, quickly fires, tipped up in the air, and intercepted by Eastern Michigan. Down the left sideline, Paddock trying to take him down and does out of bounds. The interception by Quintavious Scandrett inside Cardinals territory. The second turnover of the first half for Ball State, and the first interception for John Paddock as well.
A few plays later, Eastern Michigan tried a long field goal as the first half expired.
Jesus Gomez, the sophomore lefty kicker, attempting a 55-yard field goal. His long on the year is 46. He does have the wind behind him, kicking from right to left. The kick is up, looks like it has enough distance, and that one is good from 55 yards.
Kick was good, and easily too. I was watching that from the student section on the opposite side. No doubt about that one. Impressive kick by that young man. But to start the second half, the Cardinals tied the game at 10 with a field goal, and after forcing a turnover on downs, they got into the red zone once again.
Trips to the left side, 2nd down and 5 to go from the Eastern 18-yard line. Tanner Koziel in motion from left to right. He's by himself on that right side. Paddock will take the snap. Looking deep, Brady Hunt, right corner of the end zone, caught into the end zone for a Ball State touchdown. The redshirt freshman and the Muncie local, his 4th touchdown of the season for the Cardinals, and they retake the lead 16-10.
The PAT was blocked, and the Eagles converted a field goal on their next drive. The Cardinals had the ball and the lead until this play.
Paddock in the gun, takes the snap, 2nd and 7. Looking downfield, delivers, and that ball intercepted by Eastern Michigan. The intended wide receiver was Ryan Lazan on a drag route.
With EMU knocking on the door, Ball State had a big chance for a stop, a 3rd and 8 at the 14, with about 9 minutes remaining.
Sebastian Talon, the running back, to Smith's left hip. Smith will take the snap. Cardinals rush 4. Looking back right of the end zone. Some contact. Incomplete pass, and flags come flying.
It was indeed pass interference on the Cardinals, leading to an Eastern Michigan touchdown, giving them the lead 20-16. After punting, the Cardinals were faced with a crucial 3rd and 3 on defense with under 2 minutes to go.
20-16, Eagles lead the Cardinals. $1:46 left in the ballgame. 3rd down and 4. This could be the ballgame. Smith in the gun. 2 wide receivers to the right side, and they're throwing. Smith, right side, delivers, caught. Did he make the line to gain? And yes, he did.
That play iced the game for the Eagles, ending Ball State's winning streak and bringing them to 4-4. So yeah. Also, I should mention again, those were all Charlie Maurer on the call with SportsLink Digital Radio. Great job by him. But Ball State, man, that was a pretty frustrating game. I mean, also homecoming for the Cardinals, probably the best crowd I had seen at any game this season. I mean, there were some great crowds last year, but hasn't seemed quite as good this year. But yeah, it was fun being in the student section, seeing all that go down, but just not the result we were hoping for. Eastern Michigan with a 20-16 win over Ball State. And as I said, I kind of expected Ball State to win this game. I forget who was favored. I know it was close either way. I think Eastern Michigan were favored by a bit, but man, it just felt like the Cardinals had so much momentum heading into that game. And to be honest, they played better than the Eagles. I mean, that's kind of like the Colts, which, don't worry, I will get to them. I will get to them in the last half hour of this show. But Ball State just the turnovers and the mistakes killed them. They had so many chances, got into the red zone, just couldn't get it done. Pretty frustrating there. John Paddock, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Also had a ball snapped over his head, which, of course, you heard that one, resulted in a failed drive and an Eastern Michigan ball, but just so many things couldn't go the Cardinals' way at the end of the game. their defense couldn't hold just a little bit longer. Not that I'm blaming the defense. They had a great game, but I think they were just tired out at the end, and the offense just didn't give them a lot to work with. Steele had a fine game, 24 carries for 101 yards, nothing amazing. We did see him leave the game briefly right before the half started, but he was out. He did miss a snap or two at the end of that first half. We saw him go to the locker room, but he was back in that third quarter, so seemed to be doing all right. Paddock did do a good job of spreading the ball around. Ja'Shawn Jackson, 4 receptions for 66 yards. Steele, I mentioned his rushing, but also 4 receptions for 57 yards and that 1 touchdown. And then Brady Hunt with a big touchdown. He had 3 catches, that is, for 28 yards, along with 4 other completions for John Paddock. But just kind of, I don't want to say unlucky because it feels like I'm saying they deserve the win. I mean, that's kind of what happens in football. A team can, have more yards. Let's see. Actually, okay, Eastern Michigan did have more yards, 358 to 292, but Ball State more yards per play. Eastern Michigan just had so many more chances to get yards because of the opportunities Ball State was giving them. Ball State had all those drives into the red zone, but just could not capitalize. Frustrating has got to be the word to use for that Ball State game. They were on a 3-game win streak. Now they're on a 1-game lose streak, dropping down to 4-4. That said, speaking of Mid-American Conference standings, the West is still in play for Ball State. That would be a game and a half behind Toledo. Toledo has played 5 games. They're 4-1. Ball State 2-2, also tied with Western Michigan. With that record, of course, head-to-head goes to Western Mich, but depends how that all would shake out. So, the rest of the season will decide. And then the records, to be clear, that I was giving were conference records, which is all that would matter in MAC play. But so still a chance for Ball State to win the MAC West, get a chance to win the Mid-American Conference, but definitely a setback for them with that last game. Next up, you have Kent State, the Golden Flashes, and one thing to note about them that I find interesting is so they're 2-2 in the conference. They're from the East, and they're 3-5 overall. But so 3-5, right? 3-0 at home and 0-5 on the road. So if that were to continue, Kent State would get the win, as that is a home game tomorrow at 7 p.m. for them. But Kent State. I'm curious. I'm curious what the betting line is for this game. I would imagine Ball State is favored. I mean, they've looked good. Let's see. It is. I go to ESPN. That shows how much I know about MAC football. I need to do my research here. -7 for Kent State. ESPN predictor has Kent State at a 74.6% chance of winning. Well, prove them wrong. Prove me right, Ball State. Should be a fun matchup tomorrow. I still feel like Ball State has one of the best players, if not the best player, in the Mid-American Conference with Carson Steele. It's all a matter of utilizing him with that offense. They have a good quarterback in John Paddock. If they can just get it all to work together, the offensive line has been great this year. But all that said, what is the issue? Because the offense seems to have the pieces, but hasn't really. Hasn't developed consistency. That was all they needed last game. If they could have just consistently gotten their opportunities, scored them, that would have been over in the third quarter. But they didn't let it go on, and led to, as we saw, a loss. So, Kent State is on the ticket tomorrow for Ball State, a road game for them. And we will go ahead and play. How about 2 more PSAs?
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Muncie Map Company is a proud supporter of Ball State University and the student radio WCRD. Located in the heart of downtown Muncie, their shop sells Muncie merchandise including stickers, magnets, and, of course, lots of maps. You never know what you'll find when you visit the shop. You can decorate your dorm room or give your friend a gift with the items at Muncie Map Company.
All right, I'm back here on 91.3 WCRD, Ball State's radio station. This is 3 Levels of Football. I'm Isaiah Rosner. Pacers. Right after I said the name of my show, I start talking about basketball. Don't worry, guys, for all you football fans listening, it won't be long, but Pacers playing the Nets again today. Nets looking for some revenge from that last outing. Man, I'm just telling you, the Pacers are one of the most fun teams, one of the most fun Pacer teams I've watched. I imagine one of the most fun teams to watch in the NBA. I'm not going to pretend like I watch all 30 teams or anything, but man, the combination of Halliburton and Mathurin has been, Pacers are 3-4 now, so, the original plan was tank for Wembanyama or Scoot, but, it's a long way away. It could still be a tanking season, but they've shown so much life, kind of similar to that Oladipo Bogdanovic season. I think that was 2018. So you never know. 10 teams get a play-in spot or better. So who knows? But yeah, tonight against the 1-5 Brooklyn Nets. I don't know how you can go 1-5 with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your team, but it just happened. So man, a game starting. It's 7. It's listed for 7:30 right now, so it should start at 7:41 if that pattern holds up. But back to football. I've been putting it off a bit, but it's time to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, it was a lot more fun to talk about them last time as they were coming off of a win. But yeah, as most of us saw, the Colts losing yesterday, the first evening game of the season, but man, what a tough defeat for the Indianapolis Colts. It's like, yeah, they fell to 3-4-1 overall. Still second in the AFC South. I guess 3-4-1 isn't terrible, but it's just with the opportunities you've had, it's just crazy that you're not doing better than that. But 17-16 was the final score, and of course, this was the first start for Sam Ehlinger. One thing I've thought about with that whole thing is the fact that, okay, you're benching Matt Ryan. Now, I kind of was thinking that this is as a tanking move in the first place, and I'm not. That's still possible. That could still be the case. I understand it's probably Irsay's decision, but yeah, it definitely isn't a Frank Reich decision to switch quarterbacks like that. But then I've heard from Colts reporters who know what they're talking about, not just the random ones that make up stuff, but the actually solid reporters from the Colts saying that they're actually trying to add a spark to the team with this starting of Ehlinger. And I like it. I like the idea, especially seeing how he played yesterday. But what I don't get is why you decide it's for the entire season. Maybe this is a moot point now that he's played well, but what if he was absolutely horrible? You said he's the starting quarterback now. How awkward would that be to have to switch him up after one day.
Snap to Heineke. Looking left, nothing's there. Looking center, nothing's there. Now leans back, has an open receiver, McLaurin, and it is caught at the one by McLaurin. He beats Stephon Gilmore, who nearly took it away from him. A 33-yard pickup to McLaurin to the 1-yard line. Timeout called by Washington with 22 seconds to go.
Taylor Heineke had fantastic protection to begin with. Had
you can tell
all day in the pocket to throw.
Sims in motion to the right. Heineke, a keeper, extends toward the goal line. What's the call as he's down? He is in.
That's expected, though.
Taylor Heineke.
And
calls his own number, a 1-yard touchdown.
Continuing to underperform.
In motion, play fake on first down, pressure coming, throws a pass, dying duck, and it's intercepted at the 35-yard line. Shaquille Leonard back with an INT. Been injured all season long. 14-yard return, and it sets up the Colts.
15 of those yards came from Ellinger
Jesse, we talked about the fact that
impressive display.
There's been a lot of pressure on quarterbacks that haven't translated into takeaways by this Colts.
First start as an NFL quarterback. Handoff to Hines, running left side. He's going to get into the end zone for a touchdown. 6-yard run. Nyheim Hines, and the Colts take advantage of the Washington turnover.
I would much. I had been saying.
Third. Here's a handoff. Taylor, big hole left side, first down. Fumbled the football. Washington has it at the 15-yard line. The second Indianapolis turnover, both inside the Washington 25-yard line. Casey Tuhill recovers the fumble by Taylor.
On a bit of a tangent there. He was fun to watch. He was, but not just that. I mean, we knew he'd be fun to watch because he's fast. He's a young quarterback. He's trying new things. Any new quarterback is fun to watch anyway, but not just fun to watch. He was poised. He knew what he was doing in the pocket. I mean, he took those 2 sacks. At least one of them was not his fault at all, because you had the one that was an early snap by Ryan Kelly. Nothing you can do there. I saw, Ryan Kelly. Whew. We can get to him later, but I would love to see some improvement out of Ryan Kelly. Don't know if we're going to get it, though. I guess I'd rather to see him benched for Ball State alum Danny Pinter, who has clearly outperformed him every time he's had the chance. Not at right guard, but at center. So I'm not sure why Pinter's not getting the start, but it's okay. I mean, Ryan Kelly, he just has not been himself at all this season. But anyway, Ellinger, besides that one sack, hasn't played all. What am I saying here? Hasn't played all that bad. He played. That sack was not his fault at all, and he looked like he knew what he was doing in the pocket. He was, turning, avoiding pressure. He was mobile. I mean, as we knew he would be, but he was doing it at the right time. And then later in the game, I was even thinking to myself, okay, he's managed this pretty well, but I wonder if we'll ever see him throw a deep ball. I wasn't even thinking this game. I was thinking, in the next few games, can he throw a deep ball? And then we saw at least one that day that beauty to Alec Pierce. Another long one to Alec Pierce ended up being pass interference. That was a good throw as well. Or am I thinking the Paris Campbell one? I know there was a Paris Campbell, but I think there was both. I know there's a long Paris Campbell one that, honestly, if the defender doesn't grab him, I think Campbell can get to that. I think that would have been maybe an even better throw. That might have been a better throw by Sam Ellinger. A beauty into the end zone, and probably a good decision on the pass interference, because if I recall correctly, that actually ended up in not being a touchdown. So, yeah, that could have decided the game right there. But, so you have the beauty, of course, to Alec Pierce. I was looking at some film. I love, if you're on Twitter, you gotta follow Zach Hicks. Shout out to Zach Hicks. He's incredible. I don't personally know him, and I'm not doing this as a favor or anything, but he's just he knows what he's talking about on there. He's not quite as maybe mainstream of a reporter as someone like Zach Kiefer, Stephen Holder, Bob Kravitz, Mike Chappell, who are all fantastic, but man, he knows how to analyze film, and he was just looking at how great of a job Ellinger did on that play, as his footwork looked so much better than it had, in his college days or even in the preseason this year, and that throw was great. And then he had the long one to Nyheim Hines as well. That looked incredible at first. Actually, when I looked at it later, it wasn't. It kind of went down in my book. Still a good throw, but at first I thought it was perfectly placed. Turned out right to that outside sideline left side. Turns out it was more like it could have been a touchdown. I think he had Hines open in the end zone, but if that's a poor pass from Sam Ehlinger, then I'm happy with what we have in him here in Indianapolis. And I mean, if he can keep making those throws, keep making those reads, I mean, heck, that was a great throw to Pittman at the end of the game. That would be talked about so much if that ended up in a McLaughlin game-winning field goal. Just imagine that, beautiful throw by Sam Ehlinger to Pittman, gets out of bounds at the 45-yard line of Washington, which I think he would have, saving the timeout, and then another quick throw by Ehlinger over the middle to who would it be? I'll go with his old teammate, Kylan Granson. Pass to Kylan Granson for 11 yards for a first down, timeout called, and then a McLaughlin 40, whatever that would be. They'd be at the 34-yard line. That'd be still a 52, so that'd be a fairly long field goal. We know he can make those. McLaughlin sends that through. Sam Ehlinger, as I'm fantasizing here about him getting his first game-winning drive. But as we know, Michael Pittman with a rare drop. I'm not concerned about him. I know people are really mad about that. And actually, to be fair, I am too. I mean, he deserves criticism for that. You can't drop that in that moment, but also it's not the kind of thing that would make me, question whether he can be a true number one wide receiver or question whether he can lead this team in the future, whether he should stay on this team. Now, he as of now, he deserves a big contract with the Colts. Not that they have a lot of money to do that with right now. Hopefully they can get out of some of their other contracts, most namely Ryan Kelly, Kenny Moore, Quentin Nelson. I hate to say it. I love Quentin, but man, if he doesn't start playing better, no ways. He's worth, I don't even know if he's worth $10 million the way he's playing right now, and he's getting $20 million a year. He's probably more like an $8 million a year player this season. It'd be so fun to see him turn it around. I just don't really know what's going on with him either, but kind of got manhandled a few times that game with Washington's, who am I thinking of? Their defensive tackle had a big game, but yeah, Jonathan Allen. We know it's going to be a solid matchup, but yeah, Quentin Nelson, we expect you to win at least some of those, and a bit disappointing that he wasn't able to do that. But yeah, regardless, again, I'm recapping the 17-16 Colts loss yesterday, moving them back to 3-4-1, talking a lot about Sam Ehlinger. That's what I wanted to touch on as well, is that, man, I don't know how much of a blow-up we're going to get of this roster. When's the deadline? The trade deadline's tomorrow. So, tomorrow, what time is it? Is it noon tomorrow? Not sure. I'll check on that later. But whenever it is, whether it'll be then or, as I was going to say, after this season, I'm not sure, if we'll get a major blow-up of the Colts. But whether we do or not, I mean, I love what we have at wide receiver right now. And I can't believe I'm saying that after how the offseason went. It's wild that probably the biggest concern from the offseason, what everyone was saying, if you listen to Kevin and Query in the morning in Indianapolis, I'm not sure if it plays over here or not. You can get it on YouTube, I know that. So you can hear. I'm not sure if I think they have it on the radio somewhere. It might even be 107.5. I know it's 107.5 back home in Indianapolis. When I say back home, I'm meaning back where I live when I'm off campus. My hometown, Indianapolis. But yeah, as we know, Kevin Bowen always on Ballard about those wide outs, those wide receivers. But now think about it. I mean, Michael Pittman, how good do you have to be a legit number one? Because he definitely is that good. I mean, how many legit number ones are there in the league? In theory, I guess there should be 32. Is that how it works? I don't know. I mean, but I feel like he's top 15 right now. Closing in on top 10. Maybe not producing as amazing of numbers the last 2 weeks, but he's looked really good. I think he's still up there in catches in the league. I'll have to check on that too. But he's, has a lot of third down conversions as well. So you get your legitimate number one. And now, is Alec Pierce a legitimate number two? As of now, absolutely. Absolutely. He is, a great guy you can throw a jump ball to. He's above average speed. He's not a speedster, but he's above average speed for a starting wide receiver. We saw him burn the cornerback last game. He has a great release as well off the line of scrimmage. So fun to watch him. And it's kind of fun to have a guy that you can throw it up to and think you have a good chance of catching that. I'm so used to the Colts. Let's see, I started watching in 2012. T.Y. Hilton. I love T.Y. Hilton, but he was not the go up and get it guy. I guess maybe that one catch against the Giants on Monday Night Football. I remember I don't know how old I was at that point, but I was listening to it on the radio because I wasn't allowed to stay up that late. So probably wasn't supposed to be listening to it either, but had my radio really quiet and listening to that game. And I just remember Bob Lamy's call saying, "If that's not a Pro Bowl wide receiver, I don't know what is," as he snagged it away from the defender. But as we go off on a tangent again, T.Y. more of the speed guy, Pittman possession guy, Pierce. Yeah, what's interesting is I was also thinking, before I had thought that Pierce and Pittman might be too similar to each other to be number ones and twos, but no, they kind of drafted them intentionally like that. They're both possession receivers, but Pittman is like 80% inside the numbers, and Pierce is like at least 70% outside the numbers. It's really interesting. Like, they complement each other perfectly. Now, what do you need now? A speed wide receiver. And guess who is just suddenly coming into their own? Paris Campbell. I mean, all of a sudden, Paris Campbell is actually good. I mean, he's definitely good enough to be a number 3, maybe even to be a number 2. I mean, if I wouldn't feel too bad if you had to lose Pierce for a game and you have Pittman and Campbell as your top 2. From what we've seen right now, I mean, it's been fun to watch. So the fact, all of that to say that you have the wide receivers, the most criticized position by fans and talking mouths in the offseason, works out perfectly. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more than this, than how it's gone so far. I mean, I wouldn't have expected any of our receivers to play better. Maybe even Pittman would be the one that I would have hoped would be even, breaking more into that top 10 to 5 range. But he's fine. The fact that that's all true and the Colts are underperforming is just mind-blowing to me. I mean, who saw this offensive line regression coming? And now it seems like the Colts have figured out the left tackle. No, we don't have a Pro Bowler there, but Dennis Kelly, I haven't noticed him a whole lot. So I think that means he's doing okay. He's not doing horribly. But Ryan Kelly is doing horribly. Matt Pryor at right guard, I can't believe he is still getting even a single play a game for the Colts right now. It's hard to imagine that Will Fries is not a better option there. I guess Matt Pryor's better at run blocking, so sure, whatever. But you just see him get beat every pass block. And then, I've talked about Quentin Nelson's frustrations. Braden Smith, he's been better, but still not good. Still not up to our expectations. When I say our, I mean as a Colts fan base. But, yeah, either way, it's just such a weird season for the Colts right now. I don't know. Most people, it seems like they want to give up on it right now. I actually saw, I think the response was actually less negative than I expected after that loss. I mean, when you go online or you talk to people that are, big Colts fans, of course, you're going to expect negativity after a loss. But after this one, I feel like a lot of people were just like, okay, it was fun to watch Ellinger do well. And we, had another weird ending that we lost, the game. But I think some people are ready to tank, thinking, okay, if we lose to the Commanders, it's time to, it's tank season, time to go get a high draft pick. Maybe now that Ellinger's playing well, we can get a left tackle or something. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting. is it crazy? Is it crazy that I still think the Colts could be a playoff team? And I don't just mean as in winning the garbage AFC South and sneaking in as a, 8-1, which is also very possible. That's actually quite plausible that could happen. Colts losing both to Tennessee and then the Titans imploding. I could see that, but how many pieces do the Colts more pieces do they actually need to be a really good team? I just want to go through the positions real quick. I mean, first of all, start with the defense. The defense has impressed me every game except for the one against Jacksonville. But every other game, if you had, just suppose you had a high-scoring offense, though the defense would be praised way more than it is now. And it gets a good amount of praise. People don't sleep on it, I think, from what I've heard. But everyone would be saying it's the perfect defense to complement that offense. Instead, it's kind of having to carry the load right now. But it's been doing a good job. Defensive line. I'm going to say it. The Colts have the best two-man... Wait, how do I say this? They have the best defensive tackle pairing. It's hard to say because teams play 3-4s and 4-3s, so, who counts as a defensive tackle, who... I know some teams will call them, if you play a 3-4, your two interiors will be a defensive tackle and a defensive end, and then your out guys will be a defensive end and an outside linebacker for some reason. Makes no sense, but whatever. I feel like that's the one thing I still don't understand in football. I've been studying football for years, and I still don't get why teams use a 3-4 formation. It just feels like you're overcomplicating things. I would never do that on Madden, so I think I can, speak for the NFL that it's a bogus formation. That's why the Colts didn't succeed under Pagano. But anyway, use 4-3, please. So if you take your two interior duo, I think the Colts are the best in the league. Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. The thing is, Buckner kind of was not amazing early on in the season, but now he's doing well. He's doing kind of what we expected. I mean, he had a sack yesterday. He's getting consistent pressure. He's fine in the running game. So then the fact that, DeForest Buckner, who, is borderline all-pro defensive tackle, I'd say he's probably, 5th or 6th best defensive tackle in the league right now. The fact that he is playing that well, and yet he's actually the second best defensive tackle on the team is mind-blowing. Grover Stewart is having a fantastic campaign. If he doesn't get, a Pro Bowl nod and at least a second-team All-Pro, I mean, I've got to think who are the defensive tackles. So Aaron Donald will get one, sure. Is Cam Hayward? I don't know if he's playing well this season. There's a few names out there that are great, but man, Grover Stewart. I guess if you look at it all from a pass rushing perspective, I could see that could be the reason he might not get as much of an award. But if there's a specific nose tackle position, maybe Vita Vea, but I don't know. Maybe Vita Vea is better than him. Man, Grover Stewart, just every play seems to be there, and we've seen so much potential from these Colts players. But anyway, yeah. So interior defensive line's great. Outside of the line, okay, not as solid. Really big blow to Tyquan Lewis. That was heartbreaking to see. I think we didn't have a lot of time to think about it since it was in the last 2 minutes of the game. But yeah, he tore something in his knee. I think it was some tendon. It wasn't ACL, I know that, but that's not even a tendon anyway. But maybe it is. Who knows? But he tore something, and it was the exact same thing that he tore last season, but in the other leg. So, man, so frustrating for him. And the fact that, let's see, a ruptured left patellar tendon. All right, so he ruptured his left patellar tendon. Last year, he ruptured his right patellar tendon. And the fact that he was playing well last year, did that. And then this year, he was doing fine as well. He was, thanks, Dad. My dad just texted me patellar tendon to make sure I knew that. I beat him with the Google search, though. Beat him by a few seconds. I do appreciate that, though. Getting feedback from my vast audience out there in the world. But Tyquan Lewis, man, so frustrating for him. I don't know if that's the kind of thing, if he can just come back from it again next year and be good again. But, it's just frustrating. Now, the good news for the Colts is that after he goes out, we're pretty thin at defensive end. But it sounds like Kwity Paye is going. Well, I shouldn't say is going to, but Frank Reich said he's optimistic he will play in the next game, the one against the New England Patriots on the road. That would be huge. Yannick Ngakoue has not been playing up to what we expected. That's also a frustrating thing. I mean, if you could undo the trade as Ballard, I'm sure you do at this point. But Ngakoue had such, trading him for, or trading Rock Ya-Sin for Yannick Ngakoue. I thought it was a great move at the time, but now Rock is playing even better, and Ngakoue, who's been the definition of consistent throughout his career, is just suddenly not. And we knew he was bad at run defense. Okay, that's why we have Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. Yeah, sure, whatever. Even Tyquan's pretty good at run defense, but when he was there, but he's just not getting that much pressure. I think Tyquan was playing better than him before he got hurt, and Kwity Paye absolutely was playing better than him before his injury. So, yeah, I would love to see the defensive line could be so much better if Ngakoue would pick it up. But overall, the defensive line's been good. The linebackers have been a big surprise for me. Zaire Franklin, oh man, he is playing at a fantastic level. Still one of the top tacklers in the league, filling in very nicely for the injured Shaquille Leonard. I know Leonard did get 20 snaps last game, actually got an interception, but if we're being honest, he didn't have a great game besides that. He capitalized on the tip drill, but besides that play, I wasn't too impressed with what I saw from Shaquille Leonard, but I do trust he will be good when he gets back. Could he be traded tomorrow? Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen, but it's not out of the question. We did see Roquan Smith get traded today for a second and a fifth. So I imagine Leonard would be a little bit more valuable than that, but not a lot. So that's around the range we are looking at. But yeah, linebackers have been great with Okereke having a good season, Franklin having by far his best season. EJ Speed made a big play yesterday, so that was fun to watch. The secondary would be great if Kenny Moore could just get it together, but the outside cornerbacks, and if they stop playing Brendan Faison, by the way. But yeah, the combination of Isaiah Rodgers and Stephon Gilmore has been really good on the outside. The safeties have been really, really solid. No matter who's been out there, Julian Blackmon had a good game yesterday, along with Rodney McLeod, who's getting most of the snaps at strong safety. And then whenever Rodney Thomas plays too, he seems to be good too. And that's not even accounting for our 20-year-old third-round draft pick in. What's his name? Yeah, he's so unimportant, I forgot his name, but I still think he will be good in the future. Just, a little bit early for him, as we saw in those first few weeks. He didn't have a great start to the season, so, he will. So the Colts have a lot of good options at safety for the future. But yeah, man, I've spent a lot of time talking about the defense, how impressed I am with it. Only got a few minutes left of this show, so I do want to breeze by a few other points. Kind of got carried away here, but on the offense, like I was saying, let's just say Ellinger's good, okay? Let's say he's a decent quarterback. Let's say he's the 15th best quarterback in the league. That is pretty high expectations, but it's possible. The way he played yesterday is possible. All right, the wide receivers are good. The tight ends are probably below league average, but they've shown they can do things. Kylan Granson's been a solid piece. I don't know why Mo Ali Cox hasn't been doing anything, but whatever. And of course, Jelani Woods. We've seen what he can do at times. Nick Cross, by the way, I just remembered his name. Didn't have to Google it this time, but Nick Cross is the safety I was talking about. The safety that will be good in the future for the Colts. But yeah, we got the wide receivers I like. The tight ends are fine. It's just the offensive line. Oh yeah, Jonathan Taylor hasn't, and Naeem Hines, they haven't been as good, especially Taylor, as we were expecting. But again, if that line can get it together, I also trust that Taylor can figure it out. So maybe this is the most homer of all homer takes. Maybe it is, or maybe I'll look like a genius in 6 or 7 weeks. But I feel like the Colts are going to start winning. I feel like they're going to do it. I mean, the offense just needs to figure it out, and they're just a few offensive line adjustments away from doing so. That's just what I'm waiting for. If they can just maybe trade back for Chris Reed or something. I don't know. You got a few hours to do it, Chris Ballard. But yeah, it's such a unique situation for this team. So much talent, and yet not much success at this point. Is Frank Reich gone after this year? Good chance. If the Colts make the playoffs, then maybe not. I mean, depending on how they do it and how they do in the playoffs. But yeah, it should be interesting. Do have an NFL game on tonight. Of course, it starts at 8:15 as always. Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns. I'm torn on the Cleveland Browns because I want them to succeed for two reasons. Now, one is that I have family that root for them in Ohio. A lot of my family is from Ohio, so okay, I like them for that. And also, I like Jacoby Brissett. He was on the Colts. He seems like a great guy. He was fun to watch. He wasn't good enough to be our starting quarterback. He wasn't the best fit for us, but I like him. He's fun to watch. However, they have Deshaun Watson on their team too, even though he's suspended right now. It's hard to root for a team that has that guy on him. I kind of just want to see them fail. So, with him, somehow only getting an 11-game suspension, that was laughable in my opinion, but I digress. So yeah, that game coming up at 8:15, and then of course, as I was saying, Maction tomorrow for Ball State. Big game for them. Pacers are down. It looks like a football score right now. Pacers are down 21-14 to the Brooklyn Nets. 3:23 to go in the first quarter. They're probably losing because Benedict Mathurin came off the bench and has only played 2 minutes so far. But Halliburton, well, it's a little too early to say any meaningful stats at this point. But Pacers with the early deficit. Here's the meaningful stat: Kevin Durant with 9 of the 22 points. Good start for him. But that should pretty much do it for this week's edition of the 3 Levels of Football. Get ready for more soccer in the coming weeks. I don't know how to justify it because I call it soccer too, but it's the World Cup. I mean, it's the biggest sporting competition by a long shot in the world, so should be fun. But thank you all for listening to me. I'm Isaiah Rosner. This is 3 Levels of Football. I will see you next Monday at 7 p.m.
In a world full of boring radio and repetitive podcasts, there is only one WCRD.
Always better radio. WCRD Muncie. Ball State's radio station made for students, ran by students.